The war had lasted for 12 years. Humans and Valorans had fought across the empty spaces between stars, destroying ships and stations, killing thousands on both sides. Nobody remembered anymore why it had started. Some said it was a misunderstanding. Others said it was about territory. But the truth was simple. Two species had met in the darkness of space, and both had been afraid. The Valorans were old. Their empire had existed for thousands of years before humans learned to make fire. They had silver-blue skin and tall, thin bodies. Their eyes changed color with their emotions. They lived for hundreds of years, and their queen, a woman named Yuna, had ruled for 6 centuries. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had buried 2 husbands and watched generations of her people live and die. Nothing surprised her anymore. But humans surprised her. They were young. Their space program was only 200 years old. Their ships were smaller and weaker. Their lives were short, barely 100 years if they were lucky. By all logic, the Valorans should have crushed them in the first year of war. They did not. Humans were strange. They did not surrender when they should. They did not retreat when it made sense. They fought with a desperate energy that the long-lived Valorans could not understand. When a human ship was damaged, the crew would crash it into Valoran stations rather than escape. When human soldiers were surrounded, they would fight until the last one fell. After 12 years, Queen Yuna understood something important. She could win this war, but the cost would be too high. Humans would never stop fighting. They would burn everything down, including themselves, before they would kneel. So she proposed peace. The humans were suspicious at first. Their leaders met in secret rooms on Earth and argued for months. Some wanted to keep fighting. Others wanted revenge for the dead. But in the end, the practical ones won. Peace was better than endless war. Queen Yuna suggested a marriage alliance. Her only son, Prince Taiwan, would marry a human. It was an old tradition among the Valorans, a way to bind 2 families or 2 nations together. The humans did not have the same tradition, but they understood the meaning. A marriage would make the peace personal. It would create a bond that politics alone could not. The humans needed to choose a bride. They did not choose a princess or a politician. They chose a scientist. Her name was Park Hana, and she was 28 years old. She had grown up in Busan, a city by the sea in Korea. Her father, Park Dong-ho, was a retired fisherman. Her mother, Park Sumi, had worked in a factory for 30 years. They were simple people who had raised a brilliant daughter. Hana had studied xenobiology, the science of alien life. She had spent years learning about Valoran biology, their language, their culture. When the UN asked her to consider the marriage, she did not answer right away. She went home to Busan and sat with her parents in their small house by the water. "They want me to marry an alien prince," she said, "to live on another planet, to never come home." Her mother cried. Her father was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "Do you believe this will help people?" he asked. "I think it might save millions of lives," Hana said. "The peace is fragile. This could make it strong." Dong-ho nodded slowly. He was a simple man, but he understood sacrifice. He had spent his whole life going out to sea, facing danger so his family could eat. "Then you should go," he said. "But remember who you are. No matter how far the stars take you, you are still our daughter. You are still Park Hana from Busan." Her mother hugged her and did not let go for a very long time. The departure ceremony was held in Seoul. Thousands of people came to watch. Cameras broadcast the event to every screen on Earth. Hana wore a white dress, simple and elegant. She looked small standing on the platform, this young woman who was about to leave her entire world behind. The Valoran ship descended from the clouds. It was beautiful and strange, made of materials that seemed to flow like water. A door opened, and Prince Taiwan stepped out. He was tall, almost 2 meters, with the silver-blue skin of his people. His eyes were a deep purple, showing no emotion. He wore formal robes of black and gold. He looked at Hana the way one might look at a piece of furniture. Something necessary, but not interesting. They had never met before. They had never spoken. And now they were going to be married. Hana walked toward him. Her heart was beating fast, but her face was calm. She had learned to hide her fear years ago, working in labs where one mistake could mean death. "Prince Taiwan," she said in his language. She had practiced for months. His eyes flickered, just a little. Surprised, perhaps, that she could speak Valoran. Park Hannah, he replied in English. His accent was strange but clear. Welcome to the Alliance. They walked together into the ship. The door closed behind them. The ship rose into the sky, passed through the clouds, and then the atmosphere, and then into the cold darkness of space. Hannah looked out the window. Earth grew smaller and smaller until it was just a blue dot, then a point of light, then nothing at all. She was alone now. Her family, her home, her entire world, all gone. Ahead of her was an alien empire, an arranged marriage, and a future she could not imagine. She thought about her father's words. Remember who you are. She was Park Hannah from Busan, daughter of a fisherman and a factory worker, a scientist, a survivor. She would not forget. The journey to Varath, the Valoran homeworld, took 3 weeks. During that time, Hannah and Taewon barely spoke. He spent most of his time in his quarters or speaking with his advisors. She spent hers studying, learning more about her new home, preparing herself for what was coming. On the last night before arrival, Taewon came to her quarters. He stood in the doorway, his purple eyes unreadable. You should know something, he said. This marriage is not my choice. It is my duty. I do not expect love or friendship. I expect only that you play your role without causing problems. Hannah looked at him calmly. I did not choose this either, she said, but I am here, and I will do more than just play a role. I will learn your people, your culture, your world. I will be a real partner, whether you want one or not. For a moment, something crossed his face. Surprise, maybe, or respect. We shall see, he said, and left. Hannah smiled to herself in the empty room. He did not know humans very well yet, but he would learn. They all would. The planet Vareth was nothing like Earth. Hannah stood at the window of her new quarters and stared at a world that seemed made from dreams. The forests were not green but crystal, trees made of something that looked like glass, catching the light of 3 suns and breaking it into rainbows. The cities did not stand on the ground but grew from it, buildings that rose like living things, smooth and organic, without sharp corners or straight lines. 2 moons hung in the purple sky, one silver and one gold. At night, they painted the land in colors that had no names in any human language. It was beautiful. It was also lonely. The wedding ceremony happened 3 days after her arrival. It was a grand event, attended by nobles and diplomats from 17 star systems. Hannah wore a Valoran gown of flowing silver. Taewon wore his formal black and gold. They spoke vows that were thousands of years old, words about duty and alliance and the binding of worlds. Nobody spoke about love. The Valorans did not expect love in political marriages. Love was something that happened to common people, not to royalty. After the ceremony, they were taken to their quarters. The rooms were large and beautiful, but they felt empty. Taewon showed her around with the politeness of a hotel manager, then retreated to his own bedroom on the other side of the suite. Good night, he said, and closed the door. Hannah sat alone on her bed in an alien world, married to a stranger who did not want her, surrounded by people who saw her as a political tool. She allowed herself 5 minutes to cry. Then she dried her tears and started making plans. She would not sit in her rooms and feel sorry for herself. She would learn. She would adapt. She would make this strange place into a home. The next morning, she asked for language teachers. The palace staff were surprised. Most foreign brides simply used translation devices. But Hannah wanted to speak Valoran properly, to understand the jokes and the poetry and the small words that translators missed. She studied for hours every day. Her teachers were impressed by her speed. Within 3 months, she could hold basic conversations. Within 6 months, she could argue politics. Within a year, she dreamed in Valoran. She also asked to visit the common areas of the city. This shocked everyone. Royal family members did not walk among ordinary people. But Hannah insisted. She wanted to understand Valorans, not just the rich and powerful ones, but the regular people who lived and worked and raised families. The first time she walked through a market without guards, people stared. A human here, among them. Some were hostile, some were curious, But Hana smiled and asked questions and admired their goods. She bought fruit she could not eat and gifts she did not need, just to have conversations with the sellers. Word spread quickly. The human princess was different. She was kind. She was curious. She treated everyone with respect, from the highest noble to the lowest worker. The common Valorans began to love her. One day Hana was visiting a school in the lower city. She was teaching the children about Earth, showing them pictures of oceans and mountains and animals. A small boy raised his hand. "Princess Hana," he asked, "do you miss your home?" Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "Every day," she said, "but missing home does not mean I cannot love being here too. The heart is big enough for both." The children did not fully understand, but their teachers did, and they told others. And slowly the story of the human princess who carried two worlds in her heart spread across Varath. Taiwan noticed the change. He heard his servants speaking well of his wife. He saw the reports of her activities, her visits to hospitals and schools and orphanages. He watched how people's faces lit up when she entered a room. One evening, he came to her quarters while she was reading. "You have become popular," he said. "Is that a problem?" Hana asked without looking up from her book. "My mother thinks you are planning something. She believes your kindness is a strategy." Hana finally looked at him. "And what do you believe?" Taiwan was quiet for a long moment. "I believe," he said slowly, "that I do not understand you at all." "Then perhaps you should try," Hana said. "Talk to me. Ask me questions. I am your wife, not your enemy." He sat down across from her. It was the first time they had simply sat together since their wedding. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "The visits, the language lessons, the kindness to everyone. What do you want?" "I want to belong," Hana said simply. "I cannot go home. This is my life now. So I am trying to build a life worth living. Most people in your position would simply accept their fate and do nothing. I am not most people. I am human. We do not accept fate easily." Taiwan studied her face. His eyes shifted from purple to blue, a sign of deep thought among Valorans. "You are strange," he said at last. "Thank you," Hana replied. He almost smiled. It was small, just a tiny movement at the corner of his mouth, but Hana saw it. It was the first real expression she had ever seen on his face. After that night, things began to change between them. Taiwan started joining her for meals. He asked about her studies, her visits, her thoughts on Valoran society. She asked about his duties, his hopes, his childhood. They were not friends yet, but they were no longer strangers. Queen Yuna watched from a distance. She had spies everywhere, and they reported everything to her. The human was clever, they said. She was building alliances among the common people. She was learning secrets. She was becoming powerful in her own quiet way. "Your wife is dangerous," the queen told Taiwan during a private meeting. "She is kind," Taiwan said. "Kindness is the most dangerous weapon of all. People will die for kindness when they will not die for gold." "Mother, she has done nothing wrong." "Not yet." The queen's ancient eyes were cold. "But I am watching, and when she shows her true purpose, I will be ready." But months passed, and Hana showed no hidden purpose. She continued her visits, her studies, her small acts of kindness. She made no political moves. She asked for no power. She simply lived, day by day, trying to be happy in a place that had not wanted her. And somewhere along the way, without either of them planning it, Taiwan began to fall in love with his strange human wife. He found himself looking forward to their conversations. He noticed when she was sad and wanted to comfort her. He felt proud when others praised her. One night, 2 years after their wedding, he came to her quarters not to talk, but simply to be near her. They sat together by the window, watching the two moons rise. "Hana," he said softly. "Yes? I am glad you came here. I am glad you are my wife." She reached out and took his hand. His skin was cool, different from human skin, but the gesture was the same in any species. "I am glad too," she said. Outside, the crystal forests glowed in the moonlight. Inside, two people from different worlds held hands and began to build something that nobody had expected. A real marriage, a real partnership, perhaps someday a real family. In their 4th year of marriage, Hana began to feel strange. It started with small things. She was tired all the time, even when she slept well. Food that she had always loved now made her sick. Some mornings she could barely get out of bed. At first she thought it was just stress. Life in the palace was demanding. There were always events to attend, people to meet, duties to perform. Anyone would be tired. But the symptoms got worse. She lost weight. She felt dizzy. One day during a formal dinner, she fainted in front of 200 guests. Taewan carried her to the medical wing himself. His face was calm, but his eyes had turned deep red, the Valoran color of fear. The palace doctors examined her. They ran every test they knew, but Hana's symptoms did not match anything in their medical records. Human biology was still new to them. They called for specialists, but even the specialists were confused. "We do not know what is wrong with her," the head doctor admitted. "Her body is doing something we have never seen before." A week later, a human medical team arrived. They had been traveling from Earth for a scientific exchange when they received word of Hana's illness. Dr. Kim Jae-won, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and steady hands, led the team. She examined Hana carefully. She ran different tests, human tests, and when the results came back, she stared at them for a very long time. "This is impossible," she whispered. Hana was sitting up in bed watching the doctor's face. "What is it? What is wrong with me?" Dr. Kim looked at her with an expression Hana could not read. "Nothing is wrong with you, princess. You are perfectly healthy. In fact, you are pregnant." The room went silent. Taiwan, who had been standing by the window, turned slowly. "What did you say?" "She is pregnant, about 3 months along." "That cannot be." Taiwan's voice was flat. "Human and Valoran biology is not compatible. Our scientists confirmed this before the marriage. Conception between our species is physically impossible." "I know," Dr. Kim said. "I have read the same studies. But the tests do not lie. There is a child growing inside her. And according to early genetic analysis, the child carries both human and Valoran DNA." Hana put her hand on her stomach. She could not feel anything different. But she knew the doctor was not lying. Somehow, impossibly, she was carrying a child. Taiwan walked to her bedside. His eyes were shifting through colors so fast that Hana could not track them. Fear, confusion, hope, disbelief. "Is it mine?" he asked quietly. Hana looked at him. "There has never been anyone else. I swear on my life, on my parents' lives, on everything I love. This child is yours." The news reached Queen Yuna within the hour. She came to the medical wing herself, something she had not done in decades. Her face was stone as she listened to the doctors explain what they had found. "You expect me to believe this?" she said when they finished. "That my son has fathered a child with a human? That the basic laws of biology have simply stopped working?" "We are only reporting what we have found, Your Majesty," Dr. Kim said carefully. "The genetic evidence is clear. The child carries Prince Taewan's DNA." The queen turned to Hana. Her ancient eyes were sharp as knives. "If you have taken a Valoran lover," she said, "and are trying to pass his child as my son's heir, I will find out, and the consequences will be severe." "I have taken no lover," Hana said. She did not look away from the queen's gaze. "I have never been with anyone except my husband. I do not know how this happened, but this child is Taiwan's. I will prove it any way you ask." Queen Yuna stared at her for a long moment. Then she turned to the doctors. "Run every genetic test that exists. Compare the child's DNA to every Valoran in this palace. If there is any possibility that someone else is the father, I want to know." The testing took 5 days. Scientists from both species worked together, checking and rechecking their results. The palace was tense with waiting. Rumors spread through the city like fire. The human princess was pregnant. The child might be the heir to the throne, or it might be a scandal that would destroy the alliance forever. When the results came back, the head geneticist requested a private audience with the queen, the prince, and the princess. His hands were shaking as he presented his findings. "The child is definitely Prince Taewan's," he said. "There is no doubt. The DNA match is perfect." "Then how?" Queen Yuna demanded. "How is this possible?" The geneticist hesitated. "We have a theory, but it is only a theory. We believe that Princess Hana's body has somehow adapted to Valoran biology. Her cells have learned to communicate with Valoran cells in a way we have never seen before. It is as if her body decided that the impossible was simply a problem to be solved. Human adaptability, Dr. Kim added quietly. It is something we have always known about our species. We adapt to anything: cold, heat, altitude, disease. It seems that adaptation extends further than we realized. Queen Yuna sat back in her chair. For 600 years, she had seen many strange things, but she had never seen anything like this. If this is true, she said slowly, then this child will be the first of its kind. Not human, not Valoran, something new. Yes, Your Majesty. The Queen looked at Hana. Her expression was unreadable. You have done something that all our science said was impossible. Whether this is a blessing or a curse, I do not yet know. But I will be watching, and I will protect this child with all the power of my throne. Hana nodded. Thank you, Your Majesty. The Queen stood and walked to the door. She paused before leaving. I still do not trust you, she said without turning around. But I am beginning to respect you. That is not nothing. She left. Taiwan knelt beside Hana's bed and took her hand. We are going to have a child, he said. His eyes were golden now, the color of joy. Hana smiled, but there was worry behind it. We are going to have a child that has never existed before. The whole galaxy will be watching. Some will celebrate. Some will hate us. Are you ready for that? Taiwan leaned forward and kissed her forehead. I am ready for anything, he said, as long as we face it together. Outside the medical wing, the twin moons rose over the crystal forests, and somewhere deep in the palace, Queen Yuna sat alone in her chambers, thinking about the future. For the first time in centuries, she could not predict what was coming. The universe had surprised her. A human had surprised her. Perhaps, she thought, that was not entirely a bad thing. The news spread faster than light. Within days, every inhabited planet in the galaxy knew about the impossible pregnancy. News channels talked about nothing else. Scientists argued on broadcast networks. Religious leaders gave speeches about the meaning of this miracle. Some called it a blessing, a sign that the universe wanted humans and Valorans to be united, a new chapter in the history of both species. Others called it an abomination, a corruption of nature, a monster that should never be allowed to live. On Earth, celebrations erupted in the streets. Humans were proud that one of their own had done what science said could not be done. Hana's parents were interviewed by every news network. Park Dong-ho, the old fisherman, became famous overnight. My daughter has always been special, he said in one interview. She never let anyone tell her what was impossible. On Varath, the reaction was more complicated. Many Valorans were excited about the child. They saw it as a sign of hope for the alliance, a living symbol of peace between the two species. But a smaller group was angry and afraid. They called themselves the Pure Blood, and they believed that Valorans should never mix with other species. This child is an insult to our ancestors, their leader said in a secret meeting. It must not be allowed to be born. The palace received threats every day, letters, messages, even packages that the security team had to destroy before they exploded. Taiwan tripled the guards around Hana's quarters. He hired food tasters. He checked every person who came near his wife, but he could not protect her from the pregnancy itself. Hana's body struggled. The child was growing in ways that human bodies were not designed for. Some days she was too sick to stand. Other days the pain was so bad that she screamed into her pillow so that Taiwan would not hear. Human doctors and Valoran doctors worked side by side, inventing new treatments, trying new medicines. Some worked, some did not. The pregnancy became a medical research project, with Hana's body as the laboratory. Dr. Kim stayed on Vareth, giving up her career on Earth to help Hana through this. She became not just a doctor, but a friend, one of the few people Hana could talk to without pretending to be strong. I am scared, Hana admitted one night. What if I cannot do this? What if my body fails? Your body is stronger than you think, Dr. Kim said. Humans have been doing impossible things for millions of years. We survived ice ages and famines and wars. One pregnancy will not defeat you. But this is not just any pregnancy. This is something new. Nobody knows what will happen. Then we will find out together, one day at a time. In the 6th month of the pregnancy, something unexpected happened. An old Valoran priest requested an audience with Queen Yuna. His name was Elder Sung Ho, and he was nearly 800 years old, one of the oldest Valorans alive. He had spent his entire life studying the ancient texts, the religious writings that were thousands of years old. The queen granted the audience. She had never cared much for religion, but she was curious about what the old priest wanted. Elder Sung Ho walked slowly into the throne room, supported by a young assistant. His skin had faded from silver blue to pale gray. His eyes were clouded with age, but his voice was clear when he spoke. "Your Majesty, I have come to tell you about the prophecy." "What prophecy?" "In the Book of Stars, there is a passage that was written 6,000 years ago. It speaks of a time when two worlds would become one through blood and love. When that happened, a child would be born. Not of one people or another, but of both. This child would be called the Bridge." Queen Yuna frowned. "I have read the Book of Stars many times. I do not remember this passage." "It is in the forbidden section, Your Majesty, the part that was sealed away because it spoke of things that were considered dangerous. I have spent my life studying those forbidden texts. And you believe this prophecy refers to the princess's child? I believe it is worth considering. The prophecy says that the bridge will unite the stars, that through this child peace will spread across the galaxy. But it also warns of great danger. Those who fear change will try to destroy the bridge before it can fulfill its purpose." The queen was silent for a long moment. "I do not believe in prophecies. I believe in facts and evidence. With respect, Your Majesty, you are looking at a fact that all your scientists said was impossible. Perhaps there are more things in the universe than facts and evidence can explain." After the old priest left, Queen Yuna sat alone in her throne room, thinking. She had ruled for 6 centuries by being practical, by trusting what she could see and measure. Prophecies were stories for children. But the child was real. The impossible had happened. And if one impossible thing could happen, perhaps others could too. She called for her advisors. "Increase security around the princess," she ordered. "I want guards at every door, every window, every corridor. Nothing happens to that child. Nothing." The pregnancy continued. Hana grew weaker, but the child grew stronger. Valoran doctors detected unusual brain activity. Human doctors detected unusual physical development. The child was becoming something that neither species had ever seen. Taiwan spent every moment he could spare by Hana's side. He read to her from both human and Valoran books. He played her music from both worlds. He talked to the baby through Hana's belly, telling stories and singing songs. "What if the prophecy is true?" Hana asked one night. "What if our child really is meant to change the galaxy?" "Then we will support her," Taiwan said. "We will teach her to be strong and kind and wise. We will give her the best of both our peoples." "Her? You think it is a girl?" Taiwan smiled. "I have a feeling." "Valoran intuition? Husband intuition?" Hana laughed, something she had not done in weeks. The sound filled the room like music. In the 8th month, the doctors made a decision. The pregnancy was too dangerous to continue naturally. They would need to deliver the baby early, using a combination of human and Valoran medical technology that had never been tried before. "The risk is high," Dr. Kim warned. "We do not know if the child is developed enough. We do not know if Princess Hana's body can survive the procedure." "What are our other options?" Taiwan asked. "If we wait, the risk becomes higher. The child is growing too fast. Another month could kill them both." Hana reached out and took Taiwan's hand. "We do it," she said. "We do not wait. I did not come all this way to be afraid at the end." The date was set. The doctors prepared. The galaxy watched and waited. And in her chambers, Queen Yuna did something she had not done in 500 years. She went to the small shrine in the corner of her room, lit a candle, and prayed to gods she was not sure she believed in. "Let the child live," she whispered. "Let them both live." Outside, the twin moons rose over a world holding its breath. The impossible was about to become real. Or it was about to end in tragedy. Nobody knew which, not even the prophecy. The medical bay was full of light and tension. 12 doctors stood ready, 6 human and 6 Valoran. Machines beeped and hummed. Screens showed numbers and graphs that most people could not understand. Hana lay on the medical table, pale and thin, her body worn down by 8 months of carrying the impossible. But her eyes were clear, and her voice was steady when she spoke. "Whatever happens," she said to Taiwan, "remember that I love you. Remember that I chose this." Taiwan squeezed her hand. His eyes were deep red with fear, but he forced a smile. "You will be fine. The baby will be fine. And tomorrow we will laugh about how worried we were." "I hope so." Dr. Kim stepped forward. "We are ready to begin. Princess, we will give you medicine for the pain. You will sleep, and when you wake up, your child will be here." "No." Hana shook her head. "I want to be awake. I want to see my baby born." The doctors exchanged worried looks. Being awake during the procedure would be painful, perhaps dangerously so. But they had learned not to argue with Hana. "Very well," Dr. Kim said. "But if it becomes too dangerous, we will put you to sleep. Agreed?" "Agreed." The procedure began. What followed was 16 hours of pain and fear and hope. Hana screamed until her voice gave out. She squeezed Taiwan's hands so hard that his Valoran bones cracked. Twice her heart stopped, and the doctors had to bring her back. 3 times the baby's vital signs dropped, and everyone thought it was over. But Hana did not give up. Her human body, pushed beyond all limits, kept fighting. And somewhere inside her, the impossible child kept fighting too. At hour 15, something went wrong. The baby's position shifted. The doctors' faces turned pale. Numbers on the screens turned red. "We are losing them both," someone said. Taiwan felt the world stop. This could not happen. Not after everything they had been through. Not after 4 years of building a life together. He could not lose them. He could not. "There has to be something," he said. "Something you have not tried." Dr. Kim was working frantically, her hands moving faster than seemed possible. "There is one option, an experimental treatment. We developed it last week, but we have never tested it. It could save them, or it could kill them faster." "Do it," Hana gasped. She was barely conscious, her face gray, her eyes half closed. "Do whatever you have to do." Dr. Kim nodded. She injected something into Hana's arm, something that glowed with a faint blue light. Valoran medicine combined with human medicine, a fusion that had never existed before. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Hana's body began to change. Her color came back. Her breathing steadied. The numbers on the screens turned from red to yellow to green, and the baby began to move. At hour 16, minute 42, the child entered the world. She came out crying, a sound that echoed through the medical bay and seemed to shake the walls. A girl, just as Taiwan had predicted. Small, human-sized, with a full head of dark hair like her mother. But her skin had a faint silver blue undertone, and her eyes, when they opened, shifted through colors like her father's. Dr. Kim held up the baby, tears streaming down her face. "She is alive. She is healthy. She is perfect." Taiwan took his daughter in his arms. She was so small, so light, so warm. He had held many things in his long life, but nothing had ever felt like this. This was his child, his impossible, beautiful, miraculous child. "Hana," he said, turning to his wife, "look at her." Hana smiled weakly. She reached out with a trembling hand and touched her daughter's cheek. "Hello, little one," she whispered. "We have been waiting for you." The baby stopped crying. She looked at her mother with those strange, color-shifting eyes, and she smiled, a tiny smile that should have been impossible for a newborn, but happened anyway. Another impossible thing in a long list of impossible things. They named her Yuri, after Hana's grandmother. A woman who had survived war and famine and raised a family through hard times. It was a name that meant glass in Korean, something clear and beautiful and stronger than it looked. For 3 days, Hana recovered while Taiwan and the doctors watched over Yuri. The baby was unusual in many ways. She slept less than human babies but more than Valoran babies. She fed normally but seemed to understand words already. When the doctors ran tests, they found brain activity that should not have been possible in a newborn. "She is learning," one scientist said in amazement. "She is absorbing information at a rate we have never seen. This child will be speaking within months." On the 3rd day, Queen Yuna came to visit. She walked into the recovery room alone, without guards or advisors. She wore simple clothes, not her usual royal robes. Her face was unreadable as she approached the bed where Hana lay with Yuri in her arms. "May I see her?" the queen asked. Hana nodded. Taiwan lifted Yuri gently and placed her in his mother's arms. Queen Yuna looked down at her granddaughter. The baby looked back with eyes that seemed too wise for someone so young. They stared at each other, the ancient ruler and the impossible child, for a long moment. Something changed in the queen's face. The hardness that had been there for 600 years began to crack. Her lips trembled. Her eyes, which had not shown emotion in centuries, filled with tears. "She is beautiful," Queen Yuna said. Her voice broke on the words. She handed Yuri back to Taiwan quickly, as if afraid to hold her any longer. Then she turned and walked toward the door. "Your Majesty," Hana called out. The queen stopped but did not turn around. "Would you like to visit again?" She should know her grandmother. Queen Yuna was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was strange, soft in a way it had never been before. "Yes," she said, "I would like that." She left without another word. But that night, the palace servants reported something that spread through the city like wildfire. The queen was crying in her private chambers. The queen, who had not cried since the death of her second husband 300 years ago. The queen who had ordered executions without blinking and faced armies without fear. She was crying for her granddaughter, for the impossible child who had somehow touched her ancient heart. From that day forward, everything changed. Queen Yuna visited Yuri every day. She held the baby, sang to her in old Velaran songs, told her stories about the empire she would someday help rule. She smiled, something her servants had almost forgotten she could do. The palace staff were amazed. The nobles were confused, but Taiwan and Hana simply watched and were grateful. She was lonely, Hana said one evening, watching the queen play with Yuri in the garden. 600 years of ruling alone. I think she forgot how to love. "And now?" Taiwan asked. "Now she is remembering." Outside, Queen Yuna held Yuri up to see the twin moons rising. The baby laughed and reached for the sky with her tiny hands. "You will do great things, little one," the queen whispered. "I do not know what exactly, but I know it will be wonderful." The impossible child smiled, and somewhere in her color-shifting eyes, the future was already beginning to take shape. Yuri grew quickly. By 6 months, she could speak simple words in both Korean and Valoran. By 1 year, she could hold conversations. By 3 years, she was reading books meant for children twice her age. But she was not just smart. She was different in ways that nobody fully understood. When she was 2, the doctors discovered that she could see things humans and Valorans could not. She could perceive electromagnetic fields, the invisible energy that flowed through machines and living things. When a device was about to break, she knew before it happened. When someone was sick, she could sense the disease in their body like a dark shadow. When she was 4, they discovered something else. Yuri could communicate without speaking, not telepathy exactly, but something close. She could send feelings and images directly into other people's minds. It only worked with people she was close to, and only for short distances. But it was remarkable. "She is the bridge," Elder Sung-ho said when he learned about her abilities. "She connects human and Velaran in ways that go beyond biology. She is the prophecy made real." Scientists called her a new type of human, or perhaps a new species entirely. They wanted to study her, to run tests, to understand how her abilities worked. But Taiwan and Hana protected her. She was their daughter first, a scientific wonder second. Yuri's childhood was as normal as they could make it. She played with other children, both human and Velaran. She studied with tutors. She spent time with both sets of grandparents, learning about Earth from video calls with Park Dong-ho and Sumi, and learning about Velaran history from Queen Yuna. She was happy, but she was also aware, even from a young age, that she was different, that some people celebrated her existence while others feared it. "Grandmother," she asked Queen Yuna one day when she was 5 years old, "why do some people hate me?" They were sitting in the queen's private garden, surrounded by crystal flowers that chimed in the wind. Queen Yuna had aged visibly since Yuri's birth. She was approaching the end of her 7th century, and even Velaran medicine could not hold back time forever. But her mind was still sharp, and her love for her granddaughter was stronger than ever. Because you represent change, the queen answered honestly. You are something new, something that has never existed before, and change frightens people. They are comfortable with the way things are. They do not want to imagine a different future. But I have not done anything wrong. It does not matter. Fear does not need a reason. It only needs a target. Yuri thought about this. Her eyes shifted through colors, something that happened when she was processing difficult thoughts. Were you afraid of me? She asked. Queen Yuna hesitated. Then she nodded. Yes, when I first learned about you, I was terrified. I thought you were impossible. I thought your mother was lying. I thought you would be a monster, something dangerous that would destroy my family and my empire. What changed? The queen smiled, something she still did rarely, but more often than before. I held you. On the third day after you were born, I held you in my arms. And you looked at me with those strange eyes, and you smiled. And I realized that I was being foolish. Fear of the future is useless when the future is already here, asking for milk and making noises. Yuri laughed. It was a sound that Queen Yuna treasured more than anything in her 17-star systems. I will not let fear control me, Yuri said seriously. I will show people that they do not need to be afraid. How will you do that? By being kind, like Mother taught me, and by being strong, like you taught me. Queen Yuna pulled her granddaughter close. You are the best of both worlds, little one. Never forget that. But not everyone saw Yuri as a blessing. The pure blood movement had not disappeared during her childhood. It had grown, spreading from Varath to other Valoran worlds. They believed that Yuri was an abomination, a corruption of their species, a threat to everything they held sacred. When Yuri was 6, the first assassination attempt happened. She was playing in the palace courtyard with her human cousin, visiting from Earth. A servant approached with a tray of drinks. Nobody noticed that his eyes were too steady, his movements too precise. He threw the tray aside and pulled out a weapon. But before he could fire, Yuri felt something, a flash of darkness in her mind, a sense of wrong that made her skin crawl. Without thinking, she pushed her cousin behind her and screamed for help. The guards arrived just in time. They tackled the assassin before he could shoot, but he was laughing as they dragged him away. You cannot protect her forever, he shouted. The bridge will fall. The pure blood will rise. After that day, security around Yuri increased dramatically. She was never alone. Guards followed her everywhere. Her world, already small, became smaller, but the attempts did not stop. Over the next 2 years, there were 4 more. Poisoned food, a bomb and a gift, a sniper who almost succeeded. Each time, Yuri's strange abilities warned her just in time. Each time, she survived by seconds. Queen Yuna responded with fury. She ordered her intelligence services to find the pure blood leaders and destroy them. Hundreds were arrested, dozens were executed. But for every head that fell, 2 more seemed to take its place. We cannot kill our way out of this problem, Hana told the queen during a strategy meeting. Fear breeds more fear. Violence breeds more violence. We need a different approach. What do you suggest? The queen asked. Should we simply let them kill my granddaughter? No, but maybe we should let the galaxy see who Yuri really is. Not through news reports or official statements. Let people meet her. Let them see that she is just a child, a kind and curious child who wants to make friends and learn about the universe. Taiwan agreed. Hiding her away only makes her seem more dangerous. If people knew her, they would love her, like we do. It was a risk. Showing Yuri to the public meant more opportunities for assassins. But keeping her hidden was not working either. Queen Yuna thought for a long time. Then she nodded. We will begin a diplomatic tour. Human worlds and Valoran worlds. Let the galaxy meet the bridge. The tour was planned carefully. Maximum security, but also maximum visibility. Yuri would visit schools and hospitals and community centers. She would meet ordinary people, not just leaders and officials. Before they left, Queen Yuna gave Yuri a gift, a small crystal pendant shaped like 2 moons intertwined. This belonged to my mother, the queen said. She gave it to me when I became queen. Now I give it to you. But you are still queen, Yuri said. Yes, but you are the future, and I want you to carry a piece of our past with you. Yuri hugged her grandmother tightly. I will make you proud, she promised. You already have, little one. You already have. The diplomatic ship launched the next day. Inside, Yuri looked out at the stars, preparing to meet a galaxy that could not decide whether to love her or fear her. She would show them. She would show them all. The bridge was ready to start building. 7 years. 7 years since Hana had left Earth. 7 years since she had hugged her mother goodbye and walked into an alien ship that carried her to another world. 7 years of joy and pain, fear and hope, struggle and triumph. And now finally she was coming home. The diplomatic tour had been a success beyond anyone's expectations. Yuri had charmed every world she visited. Children loved her. Adults admired her. Even the strictest critics found it hard to hate a 7-year-old girl who asked thoughtful questions and remembered everyone's names. The pureblood movement was not defeated, but it was weakened. Public opinion had turned against them. It was hard to call someone a monster when she was helping sick children in hospitals and planting trees in community gardens. Earth was the final stop on the tour. Hana had requested a private visit first, before the official ceremonies. She wanted to go home to Busan, to the small house by the sea where she had grown up. She wanted her daughter to meet her grandparents in person, not through video screens. The royal shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere. Yuri pressed her face against the window, watching clouds pass by, seeing oceans and continents take shape below. It is so blue, she whispered. So much water. 70% of the surface, Hana said. Humans evolved near water. We have always loved it. I want to swim in it. You will, I promise. The shuttle landed in a field outside Busan. The Korean government had wanted a grand ceremony at the airport, but Hana had refused. This was a family moment, not a political one. A small group waited by the edge of the field. Park Dong-ho and Park Sumi, 7 years older, their hair grayer, their backs more bent, but their eyes were bright with tears and joy. Hana stepped off the shuttle first. She walked toward her parents slowly, then faster, then running. She crashed into their arms like a wave hitting the shore, and the three of them held each other and cried. My baby, Sumi said over and over. My beautiful baby, you came back. I always said I would, Hana whispered. Dong-ho could not speak. He just held his daughter and let the tears fall into her hair. Then Yuri emerged from the shuttle, holding her father's hand. Taiwan looked nervous. He had met Hana's parents through video calls, but meeting them in person was different. He was an alien prince. They were a fisherman and a factory worker. The gap between them seemed impossible to cross. But Sumi did not care about gaps. She released Hana and walked toward her granddaughter, slowly, reverently, like approaching something sacred. Yuri, she said in Korean, the name she had helped choose through a video call 7 years ago. My Yuri, my little glass girl. Yuri smiled. Her eyes shifted to warm gold. Grandmother, I have wanted to meet you my whole life. Sumi knelt down and hugged her granddaughter. Yuri was small for her age, human-sized, and she fit perfectly in her grandmother's arms. You smell like the sea, Yuri said suddenly. Sumi laughed through her tears. I made fish soup this morning, your mother's favorite. I want to try it. You will, baby. You will try everything. Dong-ho approached Taiwan. The two men looked at each other, so different in every physical way. Dong-ho, short and weathered and human. Taiwan, tall and silver blue and alien. But they both loved the same woman. They both loved the same child. Thank you, Dong-ho said in careful English, words he had practiced for weeks. For loving my daughter, for making her happy. Taiwan bowed, a gesture of respect he had learned from watching Korean dramas with Hana. She has made me happy too, and your granddaughter is the greatest gift of my life. Dong-ho nodded. Then he did something unexpected. He grabbed the alien prince and pulled him into a hug. Taiwan froze. Physical affection was not common among Valoran royalty, but then he relaxed and hugged back. This was his family now, all of them. Queen Yuna was the last to exit the shuttle. She walked slowly, using a cane she had started kneading in the last year. 700 years weighed heavily on her body, even if her mind was still sharp. She looked out of place in this simple field, with her royal robes and ancient eyes. She had ruled an empire of 17 star systems. She had met kings and presidents and generals, but she had never visited a fishing village in Korea. Sumi approached her. The human grandmother and the alien queen stood face to face. "Your Majesty," Sumi began, her voice nervous. "Please," Queen Yuna said. "Today I am simply Yuri's other grandmother. Nothing more." Sumi smiled. She reached out and took the queen's hands, a gesture of friendship, of family. "Then come inside. I made too much food, as always. My husband says I cook like I am feeding an army." On Varath, we have a similar saying about mothers. They walked together toward the small house. An alien queen and a Korean grandmother, holding hands like old friends. Inside, the house was exactly as Hana remembered. The same furniture, the same pictures on the walls, the same smell of sea salt and cooking spices. Her childhood home, unchanged by time. But she had changed. She was a mother now, a princess, a bridge between worlds. She had done things her younger self could never have imagined. The table was too small for everyone. They had to bring in extra chairs and squeeze together. Elbows bumped. Dishes were passed hand to hand. Yuri sat between her two grandmothers, trying every dish, asking questions about ingredients and cooking methods. "This is delicious," Queen Yuna said, tasting the fish soup. "What is the secret?" "Time," Sumi said. "You must cook it slowly, with patience, like raising children." "I have noticed that humans have a talent for patience. My people live for centuries, but we are often less patient than humans who live for decades. Maybe because you have more time, you think you can always do it later. We know our time is short, so we do not waste it." Queen Yuna nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is why humans have accomplished so much in such a short time. You do not have the luxury of waiting." The conversation flowed easily after that. Stories were shared, jokes were told, memories were made. Yuri learned about her mother's childhood. Taiwan learned about human fishing traditions. Queen Yuna learned how to make kimchi, though she admitted she would probably never try it herself. As the evening grew late, the twin moons of Vareth rose in different hearts, not visible here on Earth, but present nonetheless. Two families, human and Velaran, bound by blood and love, and the impossible child who sat at the center of it all. Hana caught her mother's eye across the crowded table. Sumi nodded, tears streaming down her face but a smile on her lips. Some things did not need words. After dinner, they all walked down to the beach. The Korean sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of gold and pink and purple. The waves rolled gently against the shore, a rhythm that had not changed since Hana was a child. Yuri ran to the water's edge. She took off her shoes and let the waves wash over her feet. She laughed with pure joy, this child of two worlds, experiencing Earth's ocean for the first time. "It tickles," she shouted. "The water tickles." Taiwan joined her, rolling up his formal robes, looking very unroyal as he splashed in the surf. Hana followed, then her parents, then slowly, carefully, Queen Yuna. They stood together in the shallow water, 3 generations, 2 species, 1 family. The sun continued to set. The stars began to appear. "Look," Yuri said, pointing at the sky. "I can see the stars where Grandmother's palace is." Queen Yuna looked up. Somewhere in that vast darkness was her empire, her throne, her responsibilities. But here in this moment, she was just a grandmother standing in the ocean with her family. "Yes," she said softly, "but right now, this is where I want to be." Dong Ho, the old fisherman who had spent his life reading the sea, looked at the unlikely group surrounding him. An alien queen, an alien prince, his daughter who had traveled farther than any human before her, and his granddaughter, the impossible child who carried 2 worlds in her blood. He had always believed in simple things: hard work, family, love. He had never expected his life to include aliens and empires and prophecies. But here he was, and somehow, it all made sense. "Hana," he said, "do you remember what I told you when you left?" Hana nodded. "You told me to remember who I am." "And did you?" She looked at her husband, her daughter, her alien mother-in-law, and her human parents. All of them together, all of them family. "I am Park Hana from Busan," she said, "daughter of a fisherman and a factory worker, wife, mother, Princess, bridge. She smiled. I am all of those things, and I would not change any of them. The last light of the sun disappeared below the horizon. The stars grew brighter, and on a beach in Korea, an impossible family stood together, bound by love that had conquered distance and difference and doubt. The prophecy had spoken of a bridge, but what it had not said was that bridges are not built alone. They are built by many hands, many hearts, many acts of courage and kindness and faith. This bridge stretched from Earth to Vereth, from human to Velaran, from past to future, and it would stand for generations to come, built on the foundation of one impossible child and the two worlds that learned to love through her. The ocean waves rolled on, as they had for millions of years. The stars shone down, as they would for millions more. And somewhere in between, in the place where impossible things become real, a family held hands and watched the night arrive. Together, as it should be, as it would always be.